everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome to Tim Reynolds Show Live, baby. That's right. You guys doing the weekly Wednesday recap right here on Tim Reynolds Show. Hey, that's right, everybody. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. All right, man. Let's go over some quick power rankings right here in the NFL. After week 2, we have a definitely different change in the swap up here of the power rankings. You know, let's go from number 1 all the way down to number 2. All right, guys, number 1 here, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 1 right now in the power rankings. Number 2 is the Buffalo Bills. Coming in at number 3 is the San Francisco 49ers. Even with after their loss this past week, the upset there for the Minnesota Vikings over the San Francisco 49ers, we see here that they're still ranked 3rd in the power rankings. Houston Texans are at number 4. They're up 2 spots from number 6 last week at 2-0, so number 4 in the power rankings. The Detroit Lions are at number 5, dropped down from number 3 from last week because of their loss this past week. And then got at number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles, who dropped to number 6 from number 5. Number 7 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go, Tampa. That's right. They moved up from number 13 last week to number 7 in the power rankings. Number 8 is the Los Angeles Chargers, who moved up from number 17 previously last week. So that'll be a pretty good jump up for them, as this team definitely looks like they could be a contender there with their new head coach. See, we got the New Orleans Saints moving in at number 9 in the power rankings here for week 2. And they jumped up for number 23. So a big jump for them as they really blew out the Dallas Cowboys this week. And then going to number 10, the Seattle Seahawks move up to number 10 in the power rankings after being ranked number 19 last week. So a big jump for them as well as they move to 2-0 in the season after their overtime win against the New England Patriots. Number 11 is the Minnesota Vikings, 2-0 on the season. They came in, they jumped up from 2-11 from 22 last week is what they previously were. They're doing really good. I think they're surprising a lot of people. Minnesota Vikings are definitely a team to be reckoned with as of right now, 2 weeks into the season. At number 12 in the power rankings after week 2, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Apparently they dropped down 1, even though they won again and are 2-0 on the season. I guess probably because the inconsistencies that they have there on their offense. That's probably the reason for that, I would imagine. You know, no reason for them to drop down in the power rankings after winning this past week. Hey, but it is what it is. At number 13, had the Baltimore Ravens, even though they're 0-2 on the season, but they do drop down to number 13 from number 4 last week. Dallas Cowboys are 14th in the power rankings, dropping down from number 7 last week after their blowout loss to the New Orleans Saints. The Green Bay Packers go to number 15 in the power rankings after being in number 12 last week. Even though they get the victory in this one, I guess with the question marks there for Jordan Love, the starting quarterback, I guess that's probably the reason for the jump down in rankings. Number 16 is the New York Jets. Number 17, the Miami Dolphins. And number 18, the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 19 is the Arizona Cardinals, who are definitely one of those surprise teams right now in the NFL. Yeah, definitely one of those teams to look out for, watch out for. Oh, look, we already got a comment. Thank you, Sam Cook. Bolt up. Hey, yeah, man. Those Los Angeles Chargers, man, are looking really, really good so far after 2 weeks in the season. I like the fact they're playing old school football, trying to play really good defense, try to run the ball as best you can, which is definitely going to really help out this Los Angeles Chargers team, especially with Justin Herbert getting all these injuries so far, man. Like, this guy's been injury plagued his whole season, or his whole career, really. So this season, too. I mean, he got injured early in the training camp, I believe, and then also in the preseason, or maybe vice versa, if I'm not mistaken. And now he's got another injury. I actually got kind of lucky when you seen the replay of that ankle injury that he got in that game against Carolina Panthers. I think he got very lucky that he's only like day to day on that ankle injury and still could play this Sunday. But Justin Herbert's got to stay healthy, man, if the Chargers want to go anywhere. So like I said, guys, Arizona Cardinals come in at number 19 in the power rankings. This team's literally looking like one of those teams who could be a threat in their division, especially with all the injuries happening to the Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals look like a team that could be really competitive. I mean, they had a really good game last week against the Buffalo Bills, and then also this past week getting the win against the Rams. Definitely shows they're a contender, I believe, this year. Herbert ran an RPO. Oh! Well, you see, that's the reason why you get hurt. We don't need Justin Herbert running RPOs, okay? That should not be in the repertoire, okay? That's no disrespect to Herbert's speed, okay? But we don't need Justin Herbert doing RPOs for the Chargers. Nope, you got plenty enough people to run the football there in the backfield. Number 20 in the power rankings, guys, we have the Los Angeles Rams. Tough Los Angeles Rams break for them, man. All the injuries that they have on the offensive line and now going through their wide receiver core. It's going to be tough, man, for Matthew Stafford and that Los Angeles Rams team. Coming up at number 21 is the Las Vegas Raiders after their big upset win over the Baltimore Ravens. Number 22 is the Cleveland Browns after they get their first win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The number 23 is the Atlanta Falcons after their upset win on the last minute against the Philadelphia Eagles Monday night. Jacksonville Jaguars come in at 24 at 0-2. New England Patriots 25. Chicago Bears 26. Washington Commanders come in at 27. Indianapolis Colts come in at number 28. The Tennessee Titans come in at number 29. Denver Broncos come in at 30. New York Giants 31. And the Carolina Panthers come in at number 32 as far as your power rankings after week 2 of the 2024 NFL season. All right, guys, so just going over some topics of the week as we're going to go through all the games that happened this past week in week 2 and the scores and whatnot. Obviously, there's some big storylines from each of these games, so we'll try to go through them pretty quickly as best we can because, hey, we're just here on this Wednesday recap to talk some ball, man. So, guys, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to Tim Reynolds Show for more football content you can only get right here on Tim Reynolds Show, guys. All right, let's put the football glasses on, get ready to talk some ball. You know what I'm saying? It's football, man. It's Wednesday weekly recap of the week 2 in NFL season 2024, baby. Let's go. All right, we already got another comment from Sam Cook. Let's see. Baker looks very good. I always believed. Brother, listen, man, as a Bucs fan, whoever they brought in, dude, you got to make sure you believe, okay? You got to make sure you put those vibes out there, man. I don't care what fan you are and what team your team is. Like, you have to have that belief that your team's going to do good. It's going to turn it around. And, you know, for me, growing up as a Bucs fan, I had all the belief in Baker when we signed him. Why? Because I trust Jason Light. My general manager has probably been the best general manager that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have ever had. So I definitely think that was going to be a very, very good pickup for them. And I'm really glad that it worked out for both Baker and the Buccaneers. Let's see. We got another comment here. Do you think Baker can bring you a ring? Well, you know, I really do. I got to be honest with you, man. When you get the right pieces around a pretty good quarterback, you know, as there was a term they used to call these guys like game managers, right? I wouldn't call Baker a game manager by any means, but he's got grit. He's got moxie, and he's got really the leadership skills, I think, to take these pieces that look at the NFL. If any team in the NFL would want the pieces that we have. Maybe not our offensive line. I know these guys are young and they're still trying to work better together. But the weapons we have at wide receiver, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and even Cade Otton, tight end, he's a little more underrated than most. He could definitely catch the ball really, really well. And then in the backfield, we got 2 guys that are really speedy and can catch the ball out the backfield. Now, I know the running game has got to get better. But as far as the weapons for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, if you put a lot of quarterbacks, if you put top 20 quarterbacks in the league right now, which I know Baker is definitely in that, you know, probably top 10 right now, and as far as after week 2, if you put any of these quarterbacks with those weapons, they're going to do good. They're going to do good. I promise you that. That is for certain. So yes, I do believe that Baker Mayfield could get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a ring this year. And I was already really, like, coming into the season way more optimistic. I love all the re-signings that they did. The fact that they were really to keep everybody there, you keep that cohesiveness as a veteran squad for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? I mean, we don't have a lot of new names on the team whatsoever, right? As far as veteran guys, we went for value as far as the guys that we did sign for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but we also made sure to re-sign everybody that we needed to. When Vita Vea a couple of years ago needed to get a contract extension, we got that done. This past season, like General Manager Jason Light got his money's worth this past offseason, man. Re-signing Antoine Winfield Jr. to a record deal. Re-signing Tristan Wirfs, left tackle, to a record deal. And then on top of that, being able to get pretty dang good deals when it comes to re-signing Mike Evans, Levante David, and Baker Mayfield. Like, look at the quarterback market right now, and look what we were able to sign Baker for. Like, you have got to love that as far as an executive or anybody that's a huge fan in the NFL that especially watches the money going around in the NFL. Like, that is such an underrated contract. Both the Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield contract extensions have got to be so underrated and so good. Like, I personally believe that Baker could have asked for a little bit more and might have gotten that from somewhere else, if you think about it, in this quarterback needy league. But definitely Mike Evans. Like, Mike Evans was probably going to get a bigger offer from other teams. And he just decided, hey, I'm going to stay in Tampa Bay. His wife had a lot to do with that. I mean, as a diehard Bucs fan, as a super fan of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am stoked that they got Mike Evans signed. If they didn't re-sign him this offseason, that would have just broke my heart. Thirsty. All right, Sam, good. Thank you for communicating here, man. All right, let's see. If you were a general manager, who would you draft to help Baker out? Man, you know what? It's too early to tell right now. As far as the NFL draft goes, I used to be pretty good at guessing like who the guys were going to be, especially like in the first round. Doesn't really matter position. Like when you know the names and you watch college football enough, you'll really get to be able to pick like who the top draft guys will be. But you got to figure out first where you're drafting at. As soon as you know your drafting position, that gives you a way better idea of who you're looking at, especially after I get to see a lot of the mock drafts and stuff like that happen. Because, I mean, to be dead honest with you, man, like the college football that we watch nowadays, it's so hard really to remember a lot of people's names that aren't at like big name programs, right? Like there used to be prospects that just stuck out so much so. I think that's because they stayed at the same school pretty much their whole entire career, or their whole entire college career, I should say. So as far as who I would draft for help out Baker, we'll have to just wait and see what happens this season and going on to next. I would say maybe draft needs. If I went just what are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft needs after the first 2 weeks? I mean, you probably got to get a little more depth at the defensive line. And then, of course, you probably got to look at offensive line too, because I would say maybe running back, but I love our running backs. And I think maybe if it doesn't work out with either one of those two guys, I mean, we got Bucky Irving for a while, and Rachaad White is still on contract for at least another 2 years, I believe. So we might be able to get a veteran guy that would fit better in our offense as far as running back goes. So, I mean, as far as draft needs, I would say definitely defensive line and offensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up in this year's draft. But thank you for the comments, Sam. I appreciate you, man. And thank you, everybody, for checking out Tim Reynolds Shows. We're going over this Wednesday weekly recap of the Week 2 of the 2024 NFL season. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. I can't believe I'm already over 275 subscribers. I hope when we get to 280 very, very soon. Let's hopefully make that happen tonight, guys. Thanks for joining the show. All right, so going over some of the games from this past week, we're just going to try to go over what the storylines were for most of the games, give you guys what the final score was. I already have my NFL Week 2 recap or review on my show, so make sure you check that out on my channel. And if you like that, make sure you check out, leave some comments, let me know of the review as I went through all the games, the scores, and the stats for those games to really check out and what important things to come out of there. So going over the first game, guys, from last week, obviously the Thursday night game, Buffalo Bills defeated the Miami Dolphins 31-10. But the big news coming out of this one was on the Buffalo Bills side, James Cook had 3 touchdowns in this game, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. Big for fantasy people. Anyone who had James Cook probably really won their week. this week, I would guess. But that was really good to see the Buffalo Bills being able to get this run game sort of balanced out, so you don't have to put the game on Josh Allen's shoulders all the time, you know? Like, I think that's what's been the Buffalo Bills' Achilles heel for so long, is the fact that they're always trying to really, or I guess Josh Allen is always the one who's really trying to put the team on his back and do too much. I think we got a couple more comments here in the chat, guys. Let's go. Bucks suck. Ravens are better. Well, Ravens are 0-2 and the Bucks are 2-0. So you take that for what it is. I mean, the Bucks got the Broncos this week, and the Ravens got the Dallas Cowboys. So if the Ravens go 0-3, good luck making the playoffs. All right, and the next one go, Bucks are trash. Well, thank you, Ivan Green. It's all right, man. I've been hearing that about Bucks for the longest time. So going on to the next game, though, our next team on this stand is the Miami Dolphins there. Unfortunately, their starting quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, is on injured reserve after suffering a concussion on that Thursday night football game, which is tough for that Miami Dolphins squad. What's going to happen with them going forward after this tough loss? It's really hard to say. I mean, I'm happy I don't have any of the Miami guys as far as fantasy guys, as far as wide receiver or any of those guys on that offense, but it looks like they're going to go with their backup quarterback, and they did sign Tyler Huntley from the Ravens practice squad this week, so that'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. But Tua's going to be out on injured reserve, so he's out for at least the next 4 games for the Miami Dolphins, and it's going to probably be a tough season for the Dolphins going forward, but always the best of luck for them. You know, being a Bucs fan there, growing up in Florida, you know, you always try to root for the other Florida teams to do pretty good as long as they're not facing my Buccaneers, you know what I mean? So it is really sad, though, to see Tua go down with another concussion like that. You know, everyone's talking like retirement. Like, nah, I mean, you got to let the guy do what the guy wants to do. You know, it's his life, it's his career, and he's got to make those decisions all by himself. And then, like, hey, let's go to my Buccaneers, man. What a big upset win over the Detroit Lions. I know a lot of people weren't talking about it so much in the weekly news, like ESPN and on the big networks and stuff like that, right? But, hey, you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. And that is, this Buccaneer defense surprised even me, okay? The Lions are notoriously known for being, like, that offense that kind of, they'll go in a lull, but then they'll always pick things right back up, right? They don't necessarily get into too many mistakes or do too many things wrong at one time. What the Lions usually end up doing is, like, usually just doing their thing. They got a couple drives here and there where they won't score anything or they'll end up having to punt. But in this game, like, even with Jared Goff getting over 300 yards passing against us, like, they sort of had to throw the ball around, right? Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took the lead and pretty much held on to it for most of the game. And then Baker, man, oh my goodness, Baker Mayfield just showing off the legs. He was our leading rusher in this game. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bragging about that. The Bucs need to get their running game going, man. We got to get this offensive line rolling and playing a lot better in that run game if we're going to keep going forward to be a competitive team, in my opinion. But it was nice to see the improvisation. It was nice to see them really, anytime they had to play off script, they were really able to do it. Like, I thought that was pretty good for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. And to be honest with you, as far as the defense, like, we were missing so many guys. Like, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense had so many injuries. Antoine Winfield Jr., he was already ruled out before the game even started, so he wasn't in the game. And then on top of that, you also had Vita Vea go out with a knee injury after the first half of that game, which I thought, like, with David Montgomery and Joe, Gibbs, like, dude, I thought for sure Lions were just going to keep running the ball, and it was going to be one of those things where you were just hoping we had a chance to win it right there at the end, right? But that would not be the case. I mean, this defense really, the fourth quarter, they just shut out the Detroit Lions completely. I mean, not only on the scoreboard, but, like, literally just took over and forced Jared Goff into mistakes. I was happy with the pass rush that we seemed to do good, especially without Vita Vea in there. A lot of the young guys are stepping up for us. I was loving the tackling from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, man. That has been one of the things that just drives me crazy as a Bucs fan. But Todd Bowles, man, people don't give him enough credit for the way he coaches this defense. Like, those guys have been getting better at tackling for year after year after year. And in these first 2 weeks, that's the one thing I'm proud of with this defense, man. I love the fact that we are just getting to the ball and tackling the ball carrier down. Hey, we're going to give up some plays. You're going to give up some points. But when you really look at it, you only give up 16 points to this Detroit Lions team. I think that's saying a lot about what you have at defense, especially when you're shorthanded without your leaders and all pros playing on that defense. So, got a couple more comments here, guys. Let's go. See, Bucks all the way. Thank you, Fancy Cat Man. Yeah, man, Bucks all the way. I'm rooting for them every single week, man. And then we got Eddie Paris. Lions played catch up all game. Yes, man, I was really shocked by it, to be honest with you, but it was really cool to see. And then Sam Cook with another comment here. Can you believe Chargers drafted Josh Palmer ahead of St. Brown? Yeah, dude, don't even get me started on the St. Brown talk. St. Brown knows every single wide receiver drafted before him. And, man, we see stories like this coming out of the NFL draft all the time. And St. Brown's definitely one of those. And I'm a huge fan of him as well. But, you know, just some takes there, guys, going forward there off of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Detroit Lions game. Now, going into week 3, what does it mean for both teams? Like, obviously, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers jump up really, really high in the power rankings this week, but also the Detroit Lions didn't fall that far down, right? The Detroit Lions are still going to be one of those teams this year. I'm not going to say this was an outlier for them. What I'm going to say is there was a lot of lessons learned in this particular matchup there for Detroit Lions. And going forward, they're probably still going to be just as competitive as a team. I don't see really any holes necessarily on their team than just this particular game. I think they made a lot more mistakes than they'd like to admit. And hey, it was only a 4-point game at the end for them. So, you know, one of those losses, a tough loss, but you learn from it and you'll move on and grow from it. I think the Lions are going to be good, no problem. Now, St. Brown got injured there on the last drive. So, you know, speaking of St. Brown, you know, 11 catches for 119 yards. But, you know, hopefully health-wise, he's healthy enough to stay there and keep going for the Detroit Lions heading into week 3. Now, as far as Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their Week 3 matchup is against the Denver Broncos. So, you know, that should be a really interesting matchup for us to see if we can make sure we show up for a team that's 0-2 with a young quarterback. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is notorious for not doing good against young rookie quarterbacks. So, make sure we got to pay attention to that and take them seriously. But, you know, the Buccaneers are legitimate. You know, like the fact that their defense undermanned and really without a lot of, like, all-pro guys, right? They were able to hold the Detroit Lions to 16 points. That says a lot. The fact that they were able to really get a dominant win against the Commanders in week 1, like they're speaking on offense and defense, and I have all the faith in Todd Bowles. Every single year, there's too many Bucs fans, in my opinion, that want to call for this guy's job or say that he's not really doing good enough. Look, in my opinion, Todd Bowles right now, over this last 3-year span, now 4, he's been one of the best coaches the Buccaneers have ever had. So I love him. I hope he keeps leading us the way he is. And I'm really excited to see what these Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do, man. I mean, the New Orleans Saints look really, really good in the division. The Atlanta Falcons looked really, really good on Monday night near the end of the game. So it's going to be competitive in this NFC South, which no one thought was going to be competitive in the first place. So watch out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. For real. They are for real. They are legit. You're going to have to pay attention to them, and you're going to have to talk about us now. That's right. Now, next game, guys, this one was a little bit of a surprise for me. I think in my picks last week, I did pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to bounce back here against the Cleveland Browns at home. They're opening their home opener there on week 2. But, man, this one was tough. Like, there wasn't a whole lot to take away from this. You know, the Cleveland Browns offense didn't really, They didn't surprise anybody. They didn't really do a whole lot, but neither did the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, right? And I kind of chalked that up to the Cleveland Browns defense. Like, the Cleveland Browns defense is still legit. Like, let's be real, okay? They still have Myles Garrett and those boys in the secondary that were just as good last year. But, you know, this one was just a little bit of a shocker. I thought Jacksonville Jaguars had a little bit more explosiveness, especially on offense, and it really just wasn't there. I mean, we see a final score of 18-13 in this game, so a 5-point game. You know, you had a couple of good field goal drives here as a Jaguars fan. Like, you easily win this game, and Deshaun Watson looks sketchy, like shaky at best. So the fact that he was able to get this win here to get the Cleveland Browns back to 1-1, I think this kind of says for the Browns, like, hey, look, we know Cleveland, Cleveland fans know you're going to lean on their defense, and you got to lean on the Cleveland Browns defense, because I don't think you can trust this offense right now, especially without, Nick Chubb there right now. Like, I don't trust Deshaun Watson, so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Cleveland Browns going forward. And then Jacksonville, 0-2 on the season, 2 tough losses to start out the season. I don't really know what to make of them right now. Their defense needs to start playing a little bit better, but they're not giving up very many points in these first 2 weeks. It's the offense that looks just lackluster. Like, maybe they're not meshing well together, Maybe there's too much pressure on Trevor Lawrence's shoulders. I'm not sure, but they got to get it figured out. That's for sure, if Jaguars fans want to see them do anything good here. So we got some more comments here. So thank you guys for checking out. So how do you feel about the Broncos game? Bo Nix does not look comfortable. Well, Eddie Paris, thank you for the question. I think I believe in Bo Nix. I like his all the starts that he has in college. I think that's going to help him in his growth. You have your growing pains in the NFL. You're seeing it through all rookie quarterbacks right now. But the Bucs should play pretty good football against the Denver Broncos. They don't look good at all together, or at least playing together as a defense for that Denver Broncos team right now. And there's nobody on offense that scares you, right? Like, you pretty much stop Cortland Sutton, and that's about it. Like, you make Bo Nix try to beat you if you can. They don't really have a running game right now. They have some injuries on the offensive line, too, for the Denver Broncos. That's something to pay attention to. So that's just kind of it, man. Like, I couldn't even really tell you, besides Patrick Surtain II, like, what guys they have on defense that you're really, like, pay attention to. You know what I mean? I'm kind of shocked they got rid of Justin Simmons this past year, to be dead honest with you. But I do think the Buccaneers should look pretty good against the Denver Broncos this upcoming weekend. Well, thank you, guys. Appreciate the comments. So we got another one here from LeBron is my hero. What do you think of your team this year? Well, I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are definitely competitors. I've talked about it a little bit here in the video. I think you have a statement win when you're able to take out the Detroit Lions, who have beat us twice in a row, especially when you take them out in their house to start out the season. That was a raucous crowd there in Detroit. I live in the Michigan area, and it's hours and hours away from me, Detroit, but, like, I was hoping to maybe go to the game, but, financially just wasn't able to try to do it. But, man, it was a raucous crowd there, a really cool atmosphere, and the fact the Bucs were able to come out with the win, it's like, it's not that they won, it's how they won. It's how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won this game. Like, their offense came out really meshing well together, were able to take advantage of their opportunities, and even when we had a lull, the defense was able to force Jared Goff into mistakes. They had to be gutsy. Like, you got to give the Lions credit. They had a couple of fourth down conversions. They had a fake punt pass against us that really, I thought was going to take them and march them down the field to get a touchdown, but we ended up getting a turnover, I think, on that particular down as well. So, give the Bucs credit, man. They look like serious contenders this year, and I think as far as they can stay healthy, right now they're dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball with Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield Jr. The secondary right now has been banged up a little bit, and then also the offensive line was banged up last week. That's why the Lions had 5 sacks as a team, with Hutchinson had 4.5. Like, fuck, yeah. That guy was wrecking the game early for us against that new right tackle. I don't even know the guy's name, but I hope Luke Gedeke, I hope you come back sooner rather than later, buddy. We got to make sure we keep that offensive line looking good. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers definitely look like they can be contenders this year. So thank you, LeBron is my hero, for your comment. Appreciate you, man. Sam Cook, another comment here, man. Let's go. Any thoughts on drafting left tackle to help Tristan out? Well, I think Tristan's going to stay at left tackle. He's making left tackle money right now. And Luke Gedeke, you kind of seen how the importance of him this past week with him being gone, because he suffered concussion-like symptoms during practice last week, so that's why he didn't play this week. But he's already back practicing this week, so it looks like he's going to be back to start at right tackle, fingers crossed, barring something happening. I like him. Luke Gedeke, for us, he's played at guard, and he played pretty decently at guard and went out to right tackle. So I guess if there's a guy really good, like, top of the line right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get at their pick, which I'm predicting is probably going to be between number 20 and number 32, because I believe we're going to be one of those playoff teams this year. So with having a late round pick, if you're able to get a right tackle, I think to help out, you can move Gedeke right inside at guard, right back at guard, and you're able to use a right tackle. I think that really helps us. Or you find a guy who's very versatile as one of those like top guard center combos, so the guy can be able to play inside for us a little bit, or even, you know, a guard tackle combo that can play both positions could be a little bit more of a utility knife for us as far as the offensive line goes. But Sam, thank you for your comments, man. Really appreciate it, man. Put the ponies down, bolts up. Yeah, way to go, man. Saints beat the Eagles. Hey, man, Saints look legit. That's for sure. Thank you guys for your comments, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, I just made it to over 275 subscribers, which is crazy to think about. I'm so blessed and so thankful for that. Make sure you guys try to help me out. I'm trying to get to at least 280 as quick as possible. So let's do it, man. Thank you guys for joining me for some football talk here. So going over to the next game, guys. Speaking of which, talking about the Saints here. The Saints demolished the Cowboys. 44-19. This was a college score. Like, this was ridiculous. Like, I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I mean, in my picks, I think I might have went with the Cowboys because I just thought the Cowboys looked pretty good last week against Cleveland, who has a tough defense. And I just thought that the Dallas Cowboys weapons would be able to go kind of toe for toe with the New Orleans Saints offense. But, man, whoo, I mean, bro, the Saints are going to be tough. Saints are going to be tough. They look good. They look legit this year. I mean, 14 points on their first 2 drives in the first quarter. Only give up 3 points as a defense. Then 21 points? You scored 21 points in the second quarter. Like, who does that? No, that's a college team. Like, that's a college football game right there. I mean, they don't even score any more touchdowns like the rest of the second half. It was all field goals, but still get 44 points. Like, the defense only gave up 3 points the whole second half. And then the Cowboys were down. Like, that's crazy, dude. That is crazy to think about. And then, of course, Kamara. Like, this guy is a fantasy god. Like, Kamara is the best fantasy running back since LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, really. Like, the amount of games that this guy has had 3, 4, 5 touchdowns is ridiculous in fantasy. Like, if you started Kamara this week, you won your fantasy week. I can almost guarantee you, barring all these crazy injuries that have been happening. But, yeah, I mean, I think this says a lot more about the Saints team than it does the Dallas team. The Saints are going to be legitimate. They have a lot of balance on offense, a lot of weapons, and then their defense is always tough with who they have on the defense, you know. But then the Cowboys, right? Talking about Dallas. Whoo, I mean, Dallas. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough for me. If I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, I am not liking that. And then now you have a tough game coming right up again in week 3 as the Cowboys are taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Like, yeah, that's going to be really, really tough for Cowboys fans. There's not much to really take away from this game other than the fact of, like, I think their defense is going to be run on quite a bit this year. They're tiny. They're small on the defensive side of the ball for the Dallas Cowboys. And you can't expect these just quick, lateral quickness type guys to be the ones to be able to stop the running game for you. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So, better days are hopefully ahead for Cowboys fans, but I don't know. You guys got a tough schedule, and the Saints are going to be a contender this year. I think they've already proven it. It's only 2 weeks of the season, but the Saints look legit. So the next game was a little bit of a shocker as well. Colts were taking on the Green Bay Packers, and this one was a little bit of a shocker because obviously, Jordan Love didn't play. He suffered an injury in Brazil in week 1 against the Eagles. Said an MCL strain, even though now there's reports that he might be able to play this weekend, literally less than 2 weeks later. So that's, hopefully the guy heals up, does good. But you thought the Colts would know what the game plan is going to be, right? Like, no Jordan Love. They have Josh Jacobs in the backfield. They have a pretty decent offensive line. Like, they're going to run the football as best as they can to take the pressure off of Malik Willis' shoulders, who hadn't even thrown his first career touchdown pass in the NFL, and he gets that in this one. So congratulations to him, and also helping the team get the victory. Like, any guy who's able to grab a ball and hold it in his hands and run a few yards with it when it gets thrown up all over, that guy's pretty good, if you ask me, as far as quarterbacks go. That was crazy. If you guys haven't seen that video, that was nuts. Malik Willis has a ball that's been thrown up on by his center, And he's got to like pretty much try to go get a first down on third down, and he doesn't get a first down. So then he's got to explain to his head coach what happened. Oh, it's freaking hilarious, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But Josh Jacobs for the Green Bay Packers, 32 carries, 151 yards. Like, when's the last, like, I should say there's probably some this past couple weeks, I imagine, but there's not very many running backs out there getting over 30 carries a game. Like, they just fed him. Huh? I mean, like, they just fed Josh Jacobs all day long. They were able to run the football all day long over the Colts. But give Colts credit. Colts kept fighting. Anthony Richardson threw 3 picks, but still kept fighting. At the very end, they had a chance to hopefully tie or even win the game. So, they're fighting good. Even though they're 0-2 Colts going forward, they're still going to be one of those teams I think they're going to fight every week. So, watch out for them. And the Packers are really happy, obviously, to get their first win of the season after a tough loss against Philadelphia Eagles, which I guess looks like maybe not as tough of a loss, especially when you see how the Philadelphia Eagles lost on Monday night. That was a little bit of a shocker. But be interesting to see what happens with the Colts and the Packers going forward. Next game we're going to talk about, New York Jets taking on Tennessee Titans. This one was a little bit back and forth, a little bit wacky though too, but you got to give Aaron Rodgers credit, getting the first win of the season for the New York Jets, 24-17 over the Titans. And then, dude, let's talk about the Titans, okay? Tennessee Titans, like, I was not a big believer in Will Levis, and I don't think there's a lot of Tennessee fans that are big believers in him right now. The guy's making way too many mistakes. I can promise you that. And you're not going to be able to stick around in the NFL for very, very long if you're making mistakes like that. All right, guys, so we got a couple more comments in here. Chargers and Buccaneers Super Bowl. Well, Sam, that actually sounds like not a bad Super Bowl pick right now if you think about it. And then we got Aiden here with a comment. What are your thoughts on the Browns winning the division? Well, I think it's going to be pretty tough. But seeing the Ravens go 0-2 in that division, and right now the Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0, I'll say this. And probably a lot of people aren't going to say this because I like rooting for the Cleveland Browns, but I don't trust Deshaun Watson. I can't trust Deshaun Watson. And until I see Nick Chubb out there looking healthy and running the football like Nick Chubb can run the football, I'm not going to trust the Browns offense. I trust their defense. Definitely trust the Browns defense. Don't trust their offense. I would much rather put my faith in Justin Fields with that Pittsburgh Steelers team and their offense than the Cleveland Browns and their offense right now with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson looks too shaky to me. He looks like somebody who's like lost it as like talent-wise, or like I don't know really what it is. It just looks like he's struggling to be the starting quarterback there for the Cleveland Browns. So I'm not picking them to win the division this year. I'm not. It sucks. I really like to. Cleveland Browns are one of those franchises who remind me a lot of my Buccaneers. A lot of struggle. A lot of people wearing freaking bags over their head. Tampa Bay Buccaneers were one of those teams who went through a whole season without winning a game too when they first got into the league. So, sucking ears. I've heard it all. But that, rooting for them and being realistic are two different things, though. And even though they were able to get the win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was a little bit of a shocker to me, I still think that, Cleveland Browns are going to be tough to win their division this year. And seeing the way the division already looks, Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2. Baltimore Ravens are 0-2. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers being 2-0 is a big deal. And if they're able to keep that lead, I don't think you're going to have but maybe 2 teams coming out of this division going into the playoffs. I don't see 3 again. Really don't. The AFC is just too stacked. But thank you for your comment. Next, Sam Cook. Will Levis is straight garbage fire. You damn right. I'd have to agree with that comment. Ron Thomas, Ravens. Yes, go Ravens. I'm a big believer in the Ravens. 0-2, but 2 tough games. It can happen to anybody, but in this league, with as many games as there is, they can still turn it around. They're still one of the best teams in the league. Same thing with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Ron Thomas, who learned Latin or Evans? Okay, I'm not sure what that one means, but we'll get to the next comment. And Sam, I see your next comment there, and I will definitely get to that Chargers and Panthers game. We have a few more to go over, but definitely a big shocker there for me anyways. Bryce Young getting benched. I mean, I'll tell you my opinion on it, okay? Sam, you stick around. I appreciate you, man. You're giving some really, really good comments. I'm going to answer you that because I have a really strong take on that particular one. So, like I said, guys, Jets were able to beat the Tennessee Titans 24-17. Moving on to the next game, big upset. San Francisco 49ers losing to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota as they lost 17-23. You know, these Minnesota Vikings team led by Sam Darnold's looking a lot like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team last year, right? You got a guy in Sam Darnold that nobody really believed in, and now he's leading this team who's got some good playmakers there and a really decent offensive line. Nobody's talking about the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. They've been playing very, very good football. A top 15 crew on that line, running the ball, doing pretty good pass protection for Sam Darnold, especially against a tough San Francisco 49ers team. Like, yeah, that was definitely a nice showing there for the Minnesota Vikings. They looked really, really good. Justin Jefferson went out with an injury, so hopefully he's okay. But San Francisco now is going to try to find a way to turn around after getting beat in a game they probably expected to win. But it didn't really shock me that much that the Vikings won. They looked legit in week 1, came in week 2. I think everybody, including me, excuse me, was picking the San Francisco 49ers, but I don't think it's that much of a shock to really see them winning because they just look like a pretty good cohesive team. And Kevin O'Connell is a legitimate head coach. That is for sure. So moving on to the next game was our overtime game as the Seattle Seahawks were able to beat the New England Patriots in overtime, 23-20. And Seattle, give them credit. They're starting the season out 2-0, looking pretty good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But hey, how about freaking Geno Smith? Over 327 yards passing in this game, got a touchdown, and then DK Metcalf does what DK Metcalf does, man. I mean, 10 catches, 129 yards, a big touchdown in this game. So go freaking Seahawks, man. Like, these proving everybody wrong. Like, I even think I rolled with the Patriots in this game just because they got the big upset over the Cincinnati Bengals. I really thought that the Seahawks team, you know, are they better than the Bengals? Maybe, maybe not, right? So, but the Seahawks, give them credit, man. They come in, their new head coach has got everybody playing really good, meshing good as a team. And, hey, I really do think they're going to be one of those teams who are a contender. Right now, them and the Cardinals look like the best teams in the NFC West, right? Not San Francisco, and definitely not the Rams. So watch out, right? Because if Seattle starts beating San Francisco, then you really got to see their competitors, that's for sure. So not much to take away for the Patriots here. I mean, they got their upset win last week, so losing this one, I guess, wasn't probably much of a shocker. They were able to really take them into overtime as well, right? They got a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So, you know, not too much to take away from the Patriots here. I think they're going to be fighting all year long and be one of those very competitive teams, you know? So, good luck, New England Patriots. And I see we got some more comments here. We got Ryan Thomas with some bucks and thanks, and who is better? Okay. Yeah, someone finally gave Sam a chance with a decent offensive line. Amen, brother. That's what we were saying. And Lattimore or Mike. No, Ron, I'm not sure what it is you're trying to ask there, buddy. So you'll have to give Ron Thomas, you'll have to give me a sort of a whole good question written out there if you want me to try to answer that for you, buddy. But I do appreciate your comment. We got another one here from Sam Cook. Maury can't get Harrison the ball, bottom line. Well, hey, Harrison's the guy who will get the ball, though. Watch out for that. As far as Cardinals go, Harrison's a guy who's going to demand the ball. He knows if he's going to be a playmaker that he was drafted to be, he's got to sort of demand the ball. Plus, they don't have anybody else at wide receiver to throw the ball to. The Cardinals have a legitimate tight end in McBride. But, yeah, Harrison's the number one there for wide receivers there for Cardinals. All right, so next game, guys, we're going to go over, and there's not much to go over in this game either, folks. It's the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. Giants lose 18-21, and I put it that way because the Commanders didn't score any touchdowns. It was all field goals. Like 7 field goals to win this game. That's just crazy to me, man. Like 7 field goals to win a game, like, okay. So, you know, hats off to the Commanders. Dan Quinn there, the head coach, gets his first win. But, man, if you're the Giants, you got to be pissed about this. Like, right? Like, you can't be happy with the fact that your defense gave up 0 touchdowns and you still couldn't win the game. Like, It's ridiculous. Like, oh man, Danny Dimes looks like he's seeing ghosts, right? Speaking of Sam Darnold, right? It looks like Danny Dimes is the one seeing ghosts, and he's probably going to be ghosted pretty much at the end of the season with the way they're playing. I don't know. Like I said, there's not really much to take away from this game other than like Malik Neighbors, wide receiver for the New York Giants, really balled out. He had 10 receptions for 127 yards and a touchdown. So watch out for him in fantasy, I suppose. But now, Sam, we're getting to the Chargers and the Carolina Panthers. Now, we see the Chargers were able to win this game pretty easily, 26-3. But those aren't the storylines. We're not talking who won or lost. Ain't the storyline coming out of this game, folks. Okay, we'll start with the Chargers. The LA Chargers surprising a lot of people coming out of the gate 2-0 this season. But should we really be surprised? Look at who their new head coach is. It's Harbaugh. When you're playing Harbaugh football, you have a chance. Just ask Ravens fans, okay? Ravens fans know about Harbaugh ball, okay? There might be a lot of people right now for the Baltimore Ravens going, hey, like, we might need to get rid of Harbaugh. I don't think that's a good idea. Like, Harbaugh's a guy who's been there. He's been the legacy for a while. He's the guy who's held down the fort, especially during some bad seasons. So, like, I wouldn't be so quickly to get rid of Harbaugh football, okay? So for the Chargers anyway, playing Harbaugh football is legitimate. Like, they are showing it. Like, if you're able to play good defense, you don't turn the ball over, and you're able to run the football, you will win in the NFL. Harbaugh knows this, and you're seeing it with Justin Herbert. I mean, look at these numbers for Justin Herbert. And I know he got injured, but still, 130 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He also threw an interception. Herbert's never won a game. Justin Herbert has never won a game throwing for 130 yards. If you probably look up what that record was before Harbaugh came along, you tell me the game that Herbert won throwing 130 yards in that game. You don't. It's probably 0 wins if you had to guess, right? You throw for under 150 yards in this league, you're supposed to lose. But guess what? Running the football and defense travels. I know Sam's down here in the comments talking about defense wins championships. Listen, okay. The Chargers need to get to the playoffs first and not choke it, okay? That was the one thing with Phillip Rivers that drove me nuts watching the Chargers. Like, every year you look like a team that's going to be really good, and the Chargers do exactly what the fucking Colts do. Show up in the playoffs and get beat. It just is what it is, right? But look, Justin Herbert doing his thing, he got rolled up on, his ankles don't look that good, right? I was really concerned about that. That replay looked gruesome. I mean, Herbert getting rolled up on that, like his ankle, it was bad. It was bad, but honestly, glad to hear he's back healthy. And hey, speaking of back healthy, J.K. Dobbins, I mean, dog, going off an Achilles tear, 17 carries, 131 yards in this one and a touchdown. After he balled out in week 1, too, you'd have figured the Panthers would pretty much, like, try to make this a little bit, right? Like, Herbert's a little bit, injured, right? I'm not saying you don't have to game plan for Herbert, but there's nobody really at wide receiver that scares you, so you take away the run game. You take away Harbaugh football if you're the Panthers defense. Yeah. Apparently their game plan was something completely different. I don't know how this stuff gets so confusing for these NFL coaches. Like, I'm not an NFL coach. Let me start out by saying that. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm an NFL coach. I'm just saying that it's not that difficult to get a game plan together about what you expect. Look at who's on the roster of the other team. I am no roster expert, but I can tell you, as probably a playmaker's position, I'm probably more scared of what J.K. Dobbins could do to me, especially after what he just did in week 1, than any of these wide receivers can do. Now, if you ask me who's going to beat me, Justin Herbert or J.K. Dobbins, okay, I'll probably give you that. I'll say Justin Herbert's probably the one who's going to beat you, right? So you got to take that away. No. Take away, in Harbaugh football, you got to take away the running game, right? And then you got to hope that your defense can play just as good as their defense. And this Panthers defense doesn't want to play defense, apparently. Like, I'm a Bucs fan. I may be a little prejudiced here, what I'm saying. But, dude, what are the Panthers doing? Like, I understand maybe Bryce Young might be, like, scared or too tiny. or whatever it is, but the dude's getting hit a lot, okay? Like, you know what? I will say this. The Bryce Young situation, especially after this game, like, it reminds me a lot of Derek Carr with the Houston Texans. And if any of y'all are old enough to remember that, when the expansion team, the Houston Texans, came out after the Houston Oiler franchise moved to Tennessee to be the Tennessee Titans, well, they added an expansion team in Houston, and when that happened, they drafted David Carr, I think, Derek Carr's older brother. And, like, that guy could have been a really good quarterback, I think. But when you get hit all the time from your offensive line not being able to block properly, like, you're not going to be a good quarterback. And Bryce Young, you know, guy to me I think is still a very good quarterback, or can be, I should say. But when he's as small as he is and you're getting hit all the time, like, there's no way you're going to be able to be a good quarterback in this offense. Like, okay, you got Adam Thielen. Okay. Anybody else, you don't know. It hasn't made a name for themselves. They ain't somebody you can go to when the blitz is coming, when the defense is taking the ball away or forcing you to have to get the ball out early. Like, there was, in these first 2 games for the Panthers, there was no adjustments on the offensive line or offensive system to try to make sure they got things better. Like, you almost seen a panic in the way they went with the game plan this weekend, because Bryce Young's yards per attempt were literally like 2 yards, not even 4 yards or something like that. Like, you're not going to win football games doing that as an offensive game plan. Now, obviously, we already know the Chargers won this game, but the big story, we're talking about Bryce Young. So his head coach, and this, I'm going to get into this, Sam. You're finally going to hear this, okay? They get into this, and their head coach after this game says, Bryce Young is our quarterback, okay? Young quarterback, obviously, hasn't even played 2 full seasons yet as a starter. You got to let these guys learn. Sometimes you got to take their bumps and bruises, right? I have a huge problem with this head coach coming in the next day, and I'm going to bench this guy now. And I'm going to get veteran Andy Dalton because we need to get this offense going, and the season's slipping away, and you need a spark, right? You need to do something with it. This is why Dave Canales, the new head coach, feels he needs to bench Bryce Young and put in Andy Dalton so they can be competitive, right? And maybe I get that. Maybe I can understand that. But what it really makes you look like, dog, is you can't handle your position as head coach. It makes you look scared, in my opinion, this move. I'm not trying to diss Dave Canales. He was on our Bucs team last year. I think he's a pretty good head coach. But what I'm saying is that where is the laid-back, chill coach anymore? These older coaches that I remember growing up would be asked these kind of like questions that maybe thought they were dumb or unnecessary, and would literally just look at you like you're dumb. Like, next question. Or, I don't really think you're asking the right questions, or I don't think that's a prerogative, you know? Take Bill Belichick, for instance, right? We're on to Cincinnati. Ask another stupid question. We're on to Cincinnati. Ask another stupid question. We're on to Cincinnati. Okay, so why can't Dave Canales do the same thing? Why can't you have your guys back when you said you had your guys back? Clearly he didn't, and now he's desperate to not lose his job. That's clearly what it looks like. It doesn't look like he's handling the situation good at all as a head coach. I think this is such a rookie move, an amateur move for him as a head coach. And best of luck to Bryce Young, man, because you know what? If there's an example right now to prove why the Carolina Panthers franchise are where quarterbacks go to die, Jake Delhomme was a good quarterback. Got injured too much. Pretty much set to die. And the same thing happened to him when what? He went to Cleveland, right? When you don't have a good offensive line, you can't win, period. Cam Newton, same thing to him. They wouldn't invest in the offensive line, and he kept getting hurt. I understand he was a mobile quarterback, but Cam Newton would have played at least 2 or 3 more years with the Panthers if they would have invested in the offensive line. And on top of that, like, there's not a lot of Carolina playmakers out there right now. Like the last 2 big playmakers I can remember that were main names on the Carolina Panthers offense that weren't a quarterback was Jonathan Stewart at running back and probably Steve Smith at wide receiver. Like, Legitimately, whatever it's bust in the draft or whatever. But getting back to my point, the Bryce Young benching, I think, is very amateurish and scared of the new head coach. I think you're just looking like a rookie head coach with this move. I don't necessarily know what is it? Does it help your football team? Maybe it galvanizes your football team a little bit more, right? You look like you're taking it seriously, like you want to win, but you also have to think about the franchise. Like, this head coach has a 6-year contract. So if you're being the proper head coach you need to be, you need to make sure you plan for the future just as much as you're playing to win right now. I'm sorry, that's the way the job works, right? So you would want Bryce Young to get the reps that he needs so you know when the offseason comes, if there's a guy out there on the market that you're like, ooh, I think we should really trade for that guy or sign that guy in free agency, or there's a guy in the draft that you end up falling in love with. Then you can take that guy with knowing you gave Bryce Young 2 full seasons to try. Now, that's still, to me, not enough for most of these rookie quarterbacks, but you need to give them at least 2 full seasons, or healthy seasons, you would hope, as a starter to learn the offense and be able to get cohesiveness on the offense, to get respected and appreciated as a leader. And they didn't, man. This head coach threw his young quarterback under the bus, and reports are saying that Bryce Young's pissed about it, and I don't blame him. If I was the agent, I'd probably just try to find a trade. I'd probably pull a Marcus Mariota like he did with the Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago. Atlanta Falcons went with Desmond Ridder over Marcus Mariota when you had just a sliver of a chance to probably stay in playoff contention. That was one of the dumbest moves, really bad for a good coach there in Arthur Smith, but they were never competitive after that when they switched to Desmond Ridder. So, honestly, Panthers fans, best of luck to you guys. Me as a Bucs fan, I remember the days when you knew, it's going to be a long season. And you knew, it's going to be a while before you see this franchise get turned around. And we had to go through a couple of really bad head coaches and general managers in the last 20-something years before, pretty much 2019 when we got Bruce Arians. So sometimes it's all about right fit, right scheme fit, but it's always about culture. The Carolina Panthers don't have a culture of winning. For me, when I remember the Carolina Panthers being good, I remember the big vocal leaders, not only on the team, but also in the community. When you're talking about Cam Newton, when you're talking about the linebacker Thomas, when you're talking about Julius Peppers, you got these Carolina Panthers need to get back to their roots, and they need to get to building this culture, and this franchise needs to rebuild its reputation really badly, because otherwise no one's going to want to come play for this franchise. And it's just going to be a bunch of young cats, and they're going to end up firing Dave Canales in probably another season, maybe 2, if he doesn't do nothing good, because what he's going to probably end up having to do is take some young guys out of the draft and try to make a squad with them, Thank you, Sam Cook. We got some more comments here. I got Finley the dog with, are the Saints for real this year? Finley, I'd have to agree, man. I think the Saints are for real. That offense looks legit, and their defense has always been tough, man. The Saints have been one of those guys, like my Tampa Bay Bucks. The defense is always going to play you tough. They're always going to keep you in it. It just seemed like the offense was making way too many mistakes with their quarterback. But Derek Carr's looking like an MVP candidate this year with the way he's playing with Kamara in that offense. He's got weapons. Watch out for the New Orleans Saints. I can't wait to the first matchup in the division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus New Orleans Saints. I'm going to have to check and see when that is on the schedule before I get done with my stream here. But yeah, that's pretty good. Moving on to the next one, guys. We are going on to the big upset where the Oakland Raiders beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. That one was a little bit of a shocker, to be honest with you, but you got to give the Raiders credit. They were able to really come through at the end there, and were able to get the victory and really come back in this one and shut down the Ravens offense. I was a little surprised by that, but this Raiders defense is tough. Really, really tough and gritty, right? And Gardner Minshew, I love that guy. That guy's one of the best quarterbacks to watch play football, really. I really, really like that guy. So for them to get the win in this one, 26-23, I think, again, this is one of those ones where it says more about the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, rather than the Baltimore Ravens. As far as the Baltimore Ravens go, I don't know. I think they're definitely way more competitive than 0-2. Two tough games, two tough losses. They could have beat the Chiefs literally by a toe. And then this one, I'd hate to say it though, tight end Isaiah Likely's comments after the Kansas City Chief game, where I made some comments with my buddies just saying, like, I don't think it was really good for him to talk about, bad about the Chiefs, saying, well, if that's the best they're going to play, then good luck in the playoffs. It's like, well, first off, you don't need to give the Chiefs any more fuel, dude. And, like, second off, like, you could have caught the touchdown that would help you guys tie the game at least, if not win it, if you're able to get the 2-point conversion. So, like, just catch the ball. And if you don't catch the ball, be humble. Like, be a professional. You don't need to go there and shit talk. So maybe in a little bit of a ways, there's a karma there coming back on the Ravens. But, this up week, we have the Ravens at Dallas Cowboys. I'm personally going to tell you guys right here, breaking news, TimReynoldsShow is probably going to pick the Baltimore Ravens to win that game. I just don't see this team going 0-3. Everyone's healthy, really. I know that the offensive line isn't playing as good as we think they should, but I really do think the Ravens, Ravens fans, keep the faith. I really do think that they have a lot more in their future going forward. And then congratulations to the Las Vegas Raiders. Who knows really what this Raiders team can be? They got some playmakers on both sides of the ball, and if they're able to play together as a team, we could possibly see them really be able to compete in that AFC West division. But that's a tough division with the Chiefs, man. Tough division. Panthers also had Luke Geheke. Yep, Julius Peppers, two of the most craziest, insane defensive players would ever meet at the line. Yeah, that is for dang sure, Sam Cook. I would have to agree with that, my friend. All right, guys, so going to the next game. We're almost done here with the slate. The Ravens and the Cardinals. Talked a little bit about this one earlier on the show. I think the Cardinals were the one that came out here for me, like, just, clap hands off to them. 41 points against the Rams. I know the Rams are dealing with a lot of injuries right now, so I more or less feel sorry for the Rams. I mean, this is a really good roster that they had, especially with the young cats, but when you hit the injury bug the way they have, it's not looking good for the Rams, and it could really spiral out of control for them. So best of luck to the Rams going forward, man, with all those injuries. But let's talk about the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, 266 yards with 3 touchdowns. He also scrambled for some yards, too. Connor, 21 carries for 122 yards and a touchdown. Nice game. Running game. Good balance there. And then Marvin Harrison, 4 catches, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, getting that connection there with Murray and Harrison is going to be really legit. If they get that going really good near the end of the year, and I'm telling you right now, I got one of his dad's jerseys. I got a Harrison Sr. jersey for the Indianapolis Colts. If Harrison can be that clutch catch guy, like I think he can be just like his dad, if you're able to have that combo with a quarterback like Kyler Murray, that's going to be a really, really good combo there for the Arizona Cardinals. So like I mentioned earlier in the video and earlier in this live, definitely watch out for the Arizona Cardinals in that division. I could think that they might be able to leapfrog the San Francisco 49ers in this one. Oh, and I see we have a comment here about the Niners from Brock Adkins. Thank you for the comment there, brother. For Niners panic level. Well, I don't think there's much panic level there for the Niners. Deebo Samuel being out is a problem now, especially with McCaffrey being out. So your offensive balance is sort of the problem, right? But you also have a really good chance with that O-line you have and the tough defense the Niners have. I think the Vikings just showed up. I think the Vikings knew they're playing the Super Bowl represent of the NFC, right? So you're going to show out against the Niners or play your best ball, especially early in the season. I think that game I mentioned earlier in the live when we went over it, I think that game said more about the Vikings than it did the Niners, really. I think the Niners just got sort of a little baffled, a little thrown off their game, if you will, by defensive coordinator Brian Flores for the Minnesota Vikings. He knows this offense, this Kyle Shanahan offense, pretty well. So I think it was just more of like hats off there to Brian Flores and their defense there for the Minnesota Vikings. I think they were the ones that really kind of stole the show, even though Sam Darnold really balled out. for them. So thank you, Brock. I appreciate the feedback. We did get all pro safety back. Yeah, that's going to be a good help there. And you always have a chance with that San Francisco 49ers defense. That's legit. But watch out for the Cardinals, man. The Cardinals look like they could be a legit team this year. All right, so going to the next one, guys, with only 4 games left. Are going over the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. And we see the Steelers win this one 13-6, a low-scoring game. Justin Fields was able to do just enough to help this Pittsburgh Steelers team get the win. Steelers surprise 2-0 team on the year. But with that defense they got, man, anytime Pittsburgh plays really good defense and they're able to run the football, excuse me, that's usually a good combo for them. I mean, that's Steeler football to its finest. Steeler football to its finest is good defense and running the football. So if they're able to do that, they are definitely going to succeed at that. Thank you guys so much for checking out Tim Reynolds Shows on our Wednesday weekly recap of Week 2 for the 2024 NFL season. Make sure you guys hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. All right, so going over a little key notes there from the Denver Broncos and Steelers. I mean, Bo Nix, again, kind of struggled. No touchdown in this one. 2 interceptions on the day. So Denver Broncos, hopefully better days are ahead, but maybe not next week against my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Steelers, too. I don't know what to make of the Steelers. 2-0. We'll see what happens near the end of the year with them. We got to kind of just watch the Steelers week to week to see what happens with them, really. But anytime the Steelers have a legit defense, which it seems like they do, Mike Tomlin with that sort of defense, they're going to be competitors no matter what game they're in. All right, so going on to the next one, guys, which is the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City was able to win 26-25 after a 51-yard game-winning field goal from their kicker. This one was tough for Cincinnati, getting that late penalty at the end to pretty much give the field goal position and the game to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's tough. But on the other hand, the Bengals did get help with a holding call just before the game, or I think like hands to the face or something like that. So, I mean, it goes both ways when you think about it there for those fans, for the Bengals fans and for the Chiefs fans. You know, I'm not going to sit here and call the Chiefs, cheaters, like the refs cheaters or the refs kissing the Chiefs' ass. Like, that's all hoopla, man. You go ahead and believe that if you want to, dude. Ain't none of that freaking real. So, Chiefs do get close win in this one. I think better days are ahead for the Bengals, but got to wait to see. Sometimes teams with all the drama, and it's going to affect you. And there's been a lot of contract drama and a lot of controversy, if you will. So, it'll be interesting to see that. All right, thanks, guys. We got some more comments here. Brock Atkins says Brian Flores is a genius. Yeah, dude, he is a defensive genius. Also, Brock Atkins, Cardinals were tough last year, even with the injuries. I kind of think the Seahawks are overhyped a bit, and the Steelers need to play ahead. Yeah, I would say the same thing for the Seahawks, too. We got to sort of see it more, but I mean, you're right. Like, yeah, even with Josh Dobbs, the Cardinals played pretty tough last year, so maybe it shouldn't be more of a surprise of how tough the Cardinals are playing or how good they look. But right now, the Seahawks and the Cardinals look like the best 2 teams in their division, which is saying something, right? So we'll see how that goes. All right, Sam Cook with another one here. Chargers play the Buccaneers in this year's. What's your prediction? Man, you're going to put me on the spot, huh? Man, my Super Bowl prediction? That's tough. I think I may have made this earlier on one of my videos before the season started. But if you had to put me on the spot, obviously I think my Tampa Bay Buccaneers could make the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with them, obviously, in the NFC just because I'm a diehard fan. I think they can make it right now. We're 2-0. I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to go with maybe who I originally might have picked, before the season started. I'm going to think my Buccaneers in the NFC. But in the AFC, maybe a surprise to some people, but not to me. The Texans. The Houston Texans, I think, are going to be one of those teams who are really going to be someone to mess around with when it comes in playoff time. So, Houston Texans, I think, for me, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. You heard it here first, Sam. You got it out of me. All right, Brock, got the Steelers. All right. They're always 2-0, though, so I'm not worried about them, and they did at least show up in this game. That is for sure. And then we got Big Tone of God. I got Falcons is ready for y'all. Hey, man, I can't wait to check it out, man. I'm a big fan of Kirk Cousins, and he's got some history against the Bucks, so that'll be interesting to watch. We got some more from Sam Cook here. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Joe Burrow stands up. Hey, I like that one. And we got Big Tone of God here going again, saying, let's go Falcons, Atlanta Falcons. Hey, love the love, man. Love the love. You know, I know you guys are a division foe. I've never been a Falcons fan. I did like Michael Vick back in the day. He was fun to watch. But, hey, it's always a fun game to watch anytime the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Atlanta Falcons. So, looking forward to it. Brock Edson said, give me the Bucks up against the Chargers, but that Bucks defense is beat up. Dude, I was mentioning that earlier. I was actually a little shocked with the way we really handled the Detroit Lions this past week with all the injuries we got. But, okay, that's absolutely right. Your comment's absolutely right. But think of how much better this defense is going to get if those guys get healthy and can stay healthy the rest of the year. This defense legitimately could be a top 10, hell, a top 5 defense this year. If you got Antoine Winfield Jr. healthy, if you got Vita Vea healthy, if you got Calais Canty, who hasn't even played this year yet, if he comes back healthy, guys, I am telling you, watch out for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. It's going to be good. All right, guys, so going on to our next game with 2 left, going to Sunday Night Football, where the Chicago Bears travel to take on those Houston Texans, like I just told you about before. Final score 19-13 as the Texans were able to get the victory in this one. CJ Stroud had himself a pretty good game, but wide receiver Nico Collins was the one who balled out. 8 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown. Big, huge fantasy day for him. I think the Texans made a little bit of a statement here, even though it looked like maybe at the end the Chicago Bears could stay in it and have a chance to get back in the game. I don't really think it was as close as the score said. Chicago Bears got a tough defense, but that offense is going to struggle this year. They got to get better as a unit. They got to get more consistency if they're going to be able to do anything on offense as far as the Chicago Bears do going forward. Best of luck to their rookie quarterback. Struggled once again in this matchup. So it's going to be a long year to see how he progresses and how much better that Williams kid gets towards the end of the years there for Chicago Bears fans. As far as Houston Texans go, hey, Houston Texans are legit. They are a team you have to watch out for. They're going to be one of the best teams at the end, in my opinion. Going on to Monday Night Football. Now, this one was the big shocker, guys. I mean, how Eagles got a chance to win the game at the end. They don't close it out. They don't run the football when they should run the football to get 40 seconds off of the clock. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Excuse me. Why wouldn't you just run the ball? Run the ball. It's 3rd and 3. Run the ball. You can get 3 yards. You can get 2 yards. Like, forget 3. You can get 2 yards. And if you get 2 yards, you do your little brotherly shove, you're going to get a first down and the game's over. Like, you don't even need to get a touchdown. You just need to get that first down. And if you run the ball twice, I mean, there's probably a 90%, 99% chance you're going to win that game. Like, I don't get it, man. These NFL coaches, they overthink it. They overthink it. Like, I just don't get it. Like, when you think about it, like, the Falcons just took advantage of the Eagles' mistakes. Like, that's it. Like, as an Eagles defense, how do you just let this team who's been struggling all night, Atlanta Falcons offense has been struggling, and you just let them march down the field to get a game-winning touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go, with no timeouts? Like, I honestly, I would hate being the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons after that, because what do you do? What do you say that? Like, I pretty much would just do 2-minute drill the whole week of practice. You guys are doing 2-minute drill the whole week of practice, because apparently you guys don't know what 2-minute drill means. That was tough. That was tough for Eagles fans, man. But give credit to the Atlanta Falcons. Get the big dub, 22-21. Go to 1-1 on the season. Robinson, running back there, had a pretty good game. 14 carries, 97 yards. And I will mention this before I get off my live stream here. I got beat in my fantasy football league because of that last drive by the Atlanta Falcons. This is not me as a Bucs fan hating on the Atlanta Falcons. No, I'm happy Falcons actually got the dub against the Eagles, because the Eagles have been kind of the Bucs' rival for a long time, if you know what I mean. But freaking Kyle Pitts, who I was facing in one of my leagues, gets a catch to help out his numbers on that last drive. And then Darrell Mooney. Mooney had two big freaking catches in that game on that last drive, and that's what cost me the game. He didn't beat me, like scored more points than me. No, he tied. We tied, so the tiebreakers, whoever got more bench points wins. We literally tied where that game was over, and I'm like, I was literally like a minute 40-something from winning my fantasy league, and the Eagles defense just couldn't stop. They couldn't stop Kirk Cousins. Like, I was a little disappointed in Kirk, though. Like, Kirk Cousins, as a Bucs fan, that this is the perfect opportunity for you to go, you like that? You like that? This is the perfect opportunity for you to do that. And you didn't. You're just going to keep it, the Bucs is the only team that you're going to do that. No, like, bro, you should have went right over to your sideline and yelled at everybody. You like that? Which I heard teammates were over there yelling it to him anyway. So, congratulations on the Falcons getting a big win. It's a crazy way to see in that game end, though. Definitely baffled me. All right, guys, before we get ready to go, seeing we got a couple more comments here. I think it's either going to be the Texans or Bills. Ooh, man, Brock, you're picking the Bills. I don't have a lot of faith in the Bills. I got to be honest with you. It's kind of the same thing I told Sam about the Chargers. You got to slow it down a little bit because when they get in the playoffs, it seems to be... Okay, you got to get past that. But I'm not dissing them. I'm just speaking on recent history. I don't think I'd put my money on the Bills. There's a lot of other teams in the AFC I think are going to be a little bit better than them. But you can't count them out. As long as you got Josh Allen, you got a chance. And we see got a couple more comments from Sam here. Can Mayfield keep up with Herbert? I think so. We'll have to wait and see. We know we got the weapons to keep up with Herbert. John Harbaugh's number 5th overall. Jay Alt shut down Max Crosby and Jadeveon Clowney with ease. No rushes, no sacks, no pressures. Will Joe Alt delete Calais Canty? Well, it depends on if Calais Canty's playing by then, but he won't face a lot of them. Calais Canty's in the interior. He doesn't usually line up on the outside. So who you'd probably be facing would be Yaya Darby and also Joe Tryon Shorinka, who... I was a little worried about him. He hadn't really been playing up to par as of late, but he has played pretty good these past couple weeks. But Joe Alt's on a whole nother level, man. Joe Alt is a baller, and he's gonna be a baller. So that's the guy I definitely got to watch out for. It's kind of like our left tackle Tristan Wirfs. Definitely a guy you just got to watch out for in game plan. But thank you guys. This has been Wednesday Recap Weekly, for week 2 of the NFL season, 2024 season. Thank you guys so much for checking out Tim Reynolds Show. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button. Appreciate you guys hanging out and checking out the show. You guys have a nice night and enjoy your week 3 of the NFL football season in 2024, as there's a lot more football left to play. We got Thursday Night Football coming up pretty soon. Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, all the footballs, you know what I mean, man? Thank you guys so much. Oh, see, we got one more comment before we get out of here. I predict another Chiefs Super Bowl in the next few seasons. Well, Ghost K7, we'll just have to wait and see, right? Because if you thought Kansas City Chiefs could be beat last year, right? That was the year. This year, they got a lot more weapons, and that defense looks legit. So we'll have to see what happens with the Kansas City Chiefs going forward. I know there's going to be a lot of teams, and there's going to be a lot of fan bases who think that their teams really have a shot. But this has been Tim Reynolds Show, guys, for my Wednesday weekly review of NFL Week 2 from the 2024 season. Enjoy NFL Week 3. Guys, enjoy your evening. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to check out Tim Reynolds Show. I appreciate all the comments in the chat, all the questions. It was nice interacting with you guys. Make sure you leave some more comments on my other videos and other content that I have on my channel at Tim Reynolds Show on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day.